What's up everyone? Today I'll be going over my top 10 favorite Clash Royale tips and tricks that I think everyone should know to improve their gameplay. Sorry that I haven't been uploading really long videos recently. I guess you could say that I've kind of been busy, but now I do have a few videos that I'm getting ready to upload that I'm editing. So make sure that you subscribe so you don't miss those. And with that said, let's get right into it. Alright, so this first one is where if one of your towers is down a significant amount, as you can see my left tower is down 552, then push the other lane. What this does is causes the opponent to try and defend your push on the side where your tower is stronger, which means that when the counter push comes in, it's more likely on your strong tower. Therefore, your weak tower will survive. This is a neat trick because it'll make both of your towers at around equal health. And one tower down versus two towers down about 50%, the one with two towers balanced is about 5 times better than the other one. So again, you'll just want to push on the lane that your stronger tower is on. Alright, the second tip, the second trick is called polling. So let's start with what polling is not. Polling is not simply putting a counter right in front of your tower to defend, like you see on the screen with the Tesla and the Hog Rider. Now, here's an example of what polling is. Can you see the difference? Alright, so polling is basically where you need to increase the distance between the incoming troop and your tower. So if you put it right in front of your tower, there's getting a straight line to the tower. But if you put it to the side, like I did with that mini P.E.K.K.A. with that Ice Wizard, it'll increase the distance the mini P.E.K.K.A. has to go. So it'll take more damage from both the Ice Wizard and the tower. You can even do a chain pull, like what I did with the Electro Spirit after the Ice Wizard. That's actually an even more advanced technique called kiting, where you completely pull the troop over to a different lane. Usually you do this when an incoming troop is coming at your weak tower and you want to pull it to your strong tower. Kiting also happens to be my third tip. So let's go into this in a bit more detail. Take note of the tiles next to the river. You'll notice that there's no real center tile. That a tile is either on the left or on the right. There's no line of tiles that's dividing the arena perfectly in half. So what you want to do is you place your troop on the tile that's to the opposite side. That's to the closest tile that's to the center line of the river. Yeah, it's on the opposite side of the troop, and I'll show you an image so you get that more. Normally, you also want to pick a building targeting only troop, or else it'll be considered a pull, because both troops will be attacking each other. In the example I just used, I used the giant to kite a prince. The giant will start marching off towards the right, but it'll trail the prince with it, so the prince ends up following the giant all the way to the tower. Now, let's see this in action. I place my giant on the tile that's closest to the center line but still on the right. The prince charges and targets the giant. Meanwhile, as soon as the prince crosses to the right side, I quickly do a bandit. And obviously this wasn't the right time for kiting, since I was actually kiting it to my weak side. But this is just for a show of demonstration. As you saw, the giant also got a few hits on the tower. Obviously, this was staged, but normally the people would counter the giant, so maybe you wouldn't have gotten the hits, but at least you still countered the prince, and if you're lucky, you would have gotten some big damage on their tower as well. Alright, this next one can get really annoying for your opponent if you play it correctly. It's called the double lane pressure, and it's exactly what it sounds like. For this to work, you need to push both lanes with potentially threatening cards. In my example, you can see I used Royal Hogs and Goblin Gang, both very threatening if left uncountered. This is especially useful if you know your opponent overcommitted and is a bit low on elixir, so he can only counter one side while you let your other card deal huge damage on the other lane. As we discussed earlier in the video, you'll want your even more threatening card to go on the side of your stronger tower, so that your opponent will hopefully counter that, and then the counter push is going to come at your stronger tower. So in my example, if I did have a stronger and weaker tower at the time, I would have placed Royal Hogs on the strong side and Goblin Gang on the weak side. Alright then, let's get right into the fifth one. The fifth one is called baiting. Baiting is where, if you know your opponent has a hard counter to two or more of your cards, so place one of your cards down first, so it baits your opponent to play that counter, and then once your opponent's played that counter, you play the other card, and they're probably not going to have anything else to counter that, and it will probably let you get some big damage on their tower. Alright, so in my example, obviously it's not going to work out as perfectly. This was staged. But if suppose I knew that they had a fireball and I want to play my Royal Hogs to get some damage on their tower, watch what I do. So I placed my Magic Archer down. Now their only counter to the Royal Hogs is also the fireball. So my Royal Hogs get some big damage. Actually, now that I see what I did, I actually didn't do that really great. I should have placed that Magic Archer away from the tower so they wouldn't have gotten any tower value. So try and place your bait. The Magic Archer is also what we call bait. Try and place your bait away from the tower so they don't get some spell value. Alright, this next one, this sixth one, is one of the key fundamental strategies, or not strategies, just tips in Clash Royale that you've gotta know, or else you're going to lose for sure. It's called the positive elixir trade. So, a positive elixir trade is where you use less elixir to counter a card that they use more elixir for. For example, a P.E.K.K.A, 7 elixir, use a skeleton army, counter it for 3. That's a 4 elixir positive elixir trade, and that's huge. That's great, and you want to spend less elixir than the opponent when you counter them. So you get the elixir advantage, and being up elixir in Clash Royale, even up 1 elixir, can make the difference between losing and winning. So let's take a look at some bad positive elixir trades. Things that aren't positive elixir trades are also known as negative elixir trades. And then let's take some looks at good positive elixir trades. Alright, let's start with the negative elixir trade, which is something you don't want to do. So I'm using 2 elixir bomber and 2 elixir spear goblins to counter a 3 elixir knight. That puts me down 1 elixir, and you should avoid this at all costs. Now observe this clip. Here there's a golem and a minion horde, which is 13 elixir total coming at me, but I'm countering it with only 12 elixir, a 7 elixir P.E.K.K.A, and a 5 elixir wizard. This combo counters the push just fine, and it also leaves the P.E.K.K.A and the wizard in pretty much good health, so you can actually start a counter push. And the opponent will actually be down 1 elixir, so they'll have quite a bit of trouble countering that. Alright, so let's go on to number 8. Number 8 is what I call gaining the first attack. This is important because if you don't gain the first attack, that means you'll be defending first, and that automatically puts you at a disadvantage. So what you want to do is when you attack first, you're basically the one getting the first damage, and you're forcing your opponent to start by defending, which could spoil his first attack plans, and it could potentially turn the tide of the game to you. So always try to place your first troop first, Start your push first, not wait for the opponent. Always try and attack first, not defend. Alright, we are on the 8th and final tip. And this final tip is to have at least one spawner in your deck and know how to use it. Spawners are troops, just cards that if you place it, they'll automatically keep on spawning more troops. Examples include Witch, Night Witch, and Barbarian Hut. So these troops can get super annoying if they're placed behind a tank, especially like Night Witch, Witch. You usually see them in giant golem beatdown decks because they can just get so annoying because like you just can't get rid of the bats or skeletons. So obviously the best decks to use these spawners are in ones with a tank like Golem Beatdown, Giant Beatdown, Giant Skeleton, all that. So to do this, you place your tank in front of the spawner, and then once the tower and some other defensive troops have locked onto the tank, the spawner will just keep on spawning troops, take out all the defensive troops, and bring down the tower. The only threats to this are spells, firecracker. So if you ever do meet someone who's just doing a bunch of spawners, use those. Alright, let's take a look at my example. So for my tank, I use the Golem, Spawners, Night Witch, and Witch. Even though the opponent is using some super powerful counter, it just isn't enough. The elite barbarians completely overwhelmed by all the skeletons and bats, and the tower goes down, and then all that's left to do is just defend until the time. Alright guys, that's all I have for this video. Thanks for watching, and if you enjoyed this video, make sure you subscribe to the channel and give the video a like to indicate that you like to see this kind of content, and maybe I'll do it again in the future. I'll catch you guys in the next video, and in the meantime, stay safe. This is Juicy Fruit CR, signing off.